off with drapery. So I've got a question actually for the audience. When it comes to your drapes, are you big on drapes? Are you big on curtains? Or do you like bare windows? So who likes drapes? Drapes? Who's into curtains? I don't really know what the difference is. Who just has bare windows? Oh my gosh. Really? Do you have your clothes on in the house, or are you just giving a little? Listen, I've never heard of this. I'm big on drapes because I like a little bit of coziness. So that's why we're going to get a bit of a drapery lesson with Brian. Okay, so Brian, should every window have a window treatment?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I have to talk to the ones that don't after during a break.
They're exhibitionists.
Exactly. Shame
right?
on you. Shame on you.
Or maybe they're just living a really good life. Yeah. Right? But I love this idea of having options, because I think if you want window treatments, you probably want that feeling of being a little bit more enveloped and a little bit more enclosed. Folks without it, maybe they're looking for clean, they're looking for light, they're looking for airy. But you've got so many options.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting because people associate drapery with traditional, but the most
True.
modern spaces have drapery in them.
Right.
It just depends on the type of drapery. So you want that coziness, you want that layering. You go into homes or you see spaces and you're like, I don't know why, but that place was so cozy.
Yeah.
It's the layering of all the elements in the house. So it can be bold or it can be subtle.
Yes, okay, so let's talk about all the different materials and colors you might want to choose. How do you choose that in your space?
Okay, so, you know, when we designed these drapery for Home Depot Canada, we wanted to have a variety.
So beautiful.
Beautiful. And one of the things was designing some that were contemporary, some that were bold, and the velvet was the bold.
Yeah.
So if you want that color, that richness, you know, one of the things about a drape like this is we just did it at the Princess Margaret Show House, where we took a velvet drape and all the walls were the same color. Oh. And it was so dramatic. So if you take a deep color in a dining room or a bedroom and paint the walls this color, that's dramatic. Or if you use this as the accent and the walls are neutral and you have pillows in this color and accents in that color.
Very nice. It is very heavy, and I find it very dramatic, and I like that.
Yes.
So you have to pick and choose what you're looking for, the tone you're looking for in your place.
Correct.
Same when it comes to opacity. So we want to talk about, can you see through it at all? Are you completely seeing through it? Is it completely opaque? Like, when do you make which choice?
Okay, so for the exhibitionists that we have out here, they could go with sheers because they don't care if anybody sees them.
Don't care.
But, you know, we do this because you want the moodiness, and a drape like this has a blackout lining.
Yeah.
So if you want, for instance, a bedroom to be dark, this is a sheer with a slight lining to it.
Okay.
It just gives it a little more body, but you get light through, more privacy.
Right.
This sheer here is completely unlined.
That's the kind I grew up with. They were completely unlined. It was, you could see right through, the light came right through, but there was still the softness.
Correct, and there is a bit of privacy with this. You can see, you can see an image through, but it's not like an open window.
Yeah.
And then you could use both. So sometimes you'll use a drapery like this on either side and a sheer in the middle. And that's because if you want some privacy, but you don't want the room dark, you close the sheers.
Right.
And then at night, if it's a room that you want it blackout, then you just close the velvet and these stack in the center. So there's lots of options for that.
Beautiful. In terms of materials, you talked about this being a velvet.
Yes.
This is a what?
This is the look of a linen. It's a synthetic, but it looks like a linen.
Yes.
So it has that texture. This is great in any space. This looks great in a contemporary space.
Yeah.
If it's just framing the window and you have, and it's, you know, the walls are white or cream and these are, they just frame the window. They keep the space contemporary, but there's a warmth to it and, like I said, a layering.
So we want to talk a little bit about length, as well as making things look a little bit more luxurious, because the more panels you add make a difference. But first of all, let's talk length. So how long should your drapes be? Are they pooling on the floor? Are they floods? Are they like, you know,
well, no.
They're not floods.
No. We don't want them like this.
They're never like that.
Like that is not the look.
That's not okay.
So
no.
You want the drapes either to just touch the floor, or if they're going to pool, they really break. But you don't want the drapes like that.
No.
I see houses in like real estate listings. I'm like, oh, please, just take them down. Be better without them. They're like a foot off the floor.
Yeah.
So yes. Now, so you want that. When it comes to the fullness.
Yeah.
For instance, this is a panel.
Yeah.
But if you have a big window, you would buy 2 panels, put them together, and you can just tack them together if you want. But you want that fullness. There's nothing worse. If you're never going to close them,
yeah,
but you have a big window. This is a mistake I see often. There's a huge window, and someone buys 1 panel, and it's over here, and another, and you're like, I know those never close. That's ridiculous. So you want to have the, even if you never close it, you want to have the fullness that the illusion or the reality that it can close.
So the width is always going to be the same in the panels. You just have to get more panels the more.
Correct.
The more you want to cover.
Correct. Like a panel is 54 inches. The heights are different. So you just stack as many. But even when it's pulled, closed, you still want a little fullness.
Absolutely. You want it to look like all big and luxe. Let's talk about where you're hanging the rod, and then we'll talk about different rods. So what are we using for a measurement in terms of how high to hang it?
Well, if you've got a relatively high ceiling, you want to mount the rods maybe 6 inches above the window.
Okay.
If you've got lots of space above.
Yeah.
If you want, if you've only got like a foot or a foot and a half, you put it in the middle.
Okay.
Between the window and the ceiling.
Yep.
But if it's really high, don't mount them high, and then you have all that wall up there.
Too much wall. Okay, let's talk about these gorgeous rods you have here, because there's so many different ways you can go that are going to go along with the drapes that you choose. So why don't you walk us through some of the hardware?
Yeah, well, when we did the Gluckstein Elements collection, I wanted to have traditional and modern, but not like overly traditional and not overly modern. So this is our transitional traditional here.
Okay.
And these are on the same rod, but they wouldn't be. A very simple cap here.
Yep.
You have this one, which is somewhere in between, and very modern here.
Very nice.
And then the materials, we're seeing a lot of black right now. And you can use black with any color, even the white. That's that farmhouse modern, that cool look. The nickels are great for contemporary, and this soft brass is great for a traditional space. So think of this as the jewelry of the drapery. You don't want to ignore that. You can see it here, how pretty that looks when it comes off. And then the bracket is beautiful also.
Very nice. The other thing we need to talk about, though, is how far away, like where should this be, how far away should this be from the window?
Okay, so when you stack the drape,
Yeah.
you want the drape only to cover a couple of inches of window, and the rest goes on the wall. You don't want to stack them and it's still covering the window.
Right.
So make sure they stack just about 2 inches covering the glass and then wall.
Love that. Okay, very nice.